So every time you compliment a woman, you're either pulling her closer towards you or you're pushing her away based on the type of compliment you give her. And in this video, we are going to talk about the 5 rules of complimenting women. I'm Bobby Rio, and this is Rob Judge. So many guys get complimenting wrong. They think that the compliment is actually going to make the woman like her more, but they wind up killing their value, killing the attraction because they do it totally wrong. So let's go through the 5 rules for complimenting a woman the right way.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'll let you start with number 1.
The first one is pretty simple, right? Your compliment should be unique. And here's what I mean. We've all met the woman with beautiful eyes. And if you're a woman with beautiful eyes, how many guys do you think have told you that in the last 3 months alone?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what a lot of guys don't realize is that every part of your communication strategy with a woman is intended to make you stand out from the crowd. And when you're complimenting her on something that is like the low-hanging fruit, it just makes you seem like every other guy.
Yeah, so when we talk about this, we're talking about early in the dating phase. Obviously, this applies long into a relationship, but early in a dating phase, you're hanging out, you've been hanging out with her a few times, you want to give her a unique compliment. What's an example of that?
Sure. So one of the things that I try to do is I'll try to listen very closely to what she's saying and really trying to pick something out of maybe it's a unique perspective that she has. It could be her sense of humor, but it's going to be something that I'm going to try to tie that to something that, or at least I'm going to try to phrase it in a way that makes it sound unique to her, that makes it sound like it's genuine, and it's also that it's spontaneous. So if she makes a joke that is genuinely funny, I'll laugh and be like, well, man, this is like so rare. Like a girl can make me laugh, and I've only known you for like 5 minutes. You're like good sense of humor. We're off to a good start here. Like that's a good compliment because now you're also tying it to, you're adding a little bit of that spontaneity, which also makes it come off more attractive.
Yeah, there's 2 things about that, right? It's a unique to her, meaning it's something that she probably doesn't hear from every other guy, but it's also unique in the sense that you're revealing something about yourself in the compliment, as opposed to the one we gave earlier. It was like, oh, you have nice eyes. Well, what did you reveal about yourself? Nothing.
Yeah, that you're not blind.
Yeah, you're not blind. Whereas doing what you just said, it not only is a unique take on her, but it's also revealing a little bit about yourself. The other rule that I would say, the next rule is, it's always better when in doubt, compliment her behavior and not her physical appearance or like what she's actively doing or conveying about herself rather than who she is, what she was born with.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the idea of you compliment her for something she does, not complimenting her for something that she is, right? Yeah, she's probably beautiful, she probably has great eyes, maybe she has great ass, whatever it is. But when you're complimenting her about things that she didn't have to work for, she was just born with, that comes off very superficial, and like you said before, it's something that she's heard before. Versus when you compliment her for something that she does, something that she worked for, something that she's developed. You know, like I said, I used the example before of the unique perspective. A lot of people take a lot of pride in their perspective because, especially if a woman, feels like that she's worldly or well-read. So by recognizing that, again, it comes off as a more genuine compliment, but it also comes off as more attractive. It shows that you're a guy with standards. You're not just going for the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, and if you do it right, you can also show that you're perceptive, that you have social intelligence, that you recognize things. So an example might be if you're talking to a woman and you sense that she's keen on her observations about people. You'd be like, I bet you're like the type of woman that just knows immediately. If one of your friends brings a guy around, you just have that sixth sense. You know if he's good or not. You just have that. And if that's how she identifies, wow, he recognizes that about me. As opposed to, like you said, oh, I have a nice ass, or whatever, which she's heard before.
Which I don't think any guy's going to leave that compliment, but I know what you mean.
I think a lot of guys... Well, if you do that compliment in the right way, that works as well, right?
It could, but doesn't make you stand out.
But yeah, complimenting her behavior, a trait about her, right? If she's ambitious, wow, it's actually really cool that you're ambitious. Like, I don't meet a lot of women like that. That's her behavior versus her look. So that's the second rule. The third rule that I would say to keep in mind is the balance, okay? Because anytime you give a compliment, you're actually creating momentaries of tension between you and her. And it could get really weird. So if you're on a date and you look at the woman and you're like, you're really beautiful. Or even if you use the right compliment where you're like, you really have an amazing sense of humor. And now she's on the spot. It's this sort of thing she has. She goes, thank you. And then it dissipates. So the rule that we would say is push-pull, right? Anytime you give a compliment, pull it away a little bit afterwards to ease that tension and allow it, get it out there, but then take it away. So an example of that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So let's say you told her the example you used, oh, you have a great sense of humor. But before she didn't have the chance to react to that, you might tease her a little bit. So you might say something like, oh, but too bad you listen to whatever her taste of music is, or you tease her a little bit about something that she said earlier. Oh, but your favorite movie is 10 Things I Hate About You, or I don't know, whatever maybe opinion that she might have given before that you don't agree with. You just tease her a little bit. And the reason for that is like Bobby said, is that when you just give a compliment, it's a sort of a dead end communication strategy, right? The only thing she can really say is, oh, thank you, or oh, you're really sweet, thank you. But if you keep the conversation moving, you keep things fluid by re-injecting a little bit of that a little of that playful energy, it makes it very easy for her to sort of banter with you so that the compliment doesn't just kind of go stale.
Yeah, you're giving her a thread to pull on to keep the conversation going. But you actually said something that I think is really true, is that something about her saying, oh, thanks, or that was sweet, it's lowering your value because now you're like the guy who's I don't know. There's something about anytime a woman, one of our clients shows a text and the woman has written like, "Oh, you're sweet," or "Thanks." Oh, I'm like, you're gonna be in the friend zone soon.
Yep, it's just like womp womp.
Yeah, there's just something about the mentality of her treating you like that. Oh, that's so sweet. And it's like guys think, oh, I got points, but no, you actually didn't get points. You're just So by pulling it away, like you said, it makes it it also makes it it's not a big deal to you. Like you can put it out there and then go on. It's not like, oh, I said this and now I want something from you, right? Because compliments can be very needy. Because if you're complimenting a woman, especially if she's not at the level of attraction that you're at, so you're on a first date. And maybe you haven't been on a date in a while and she is pretty cool and you start gushing about her. But in her mind, she's like, he's kind of cool, but she hasn't decided that she likes you yet. And if you're complimenting right away too much, a part of her is going to go, oh no, he's already imagining that I'm going to be his girlfriend and I don't know what I want. And whereas if you say it casually and you keep going, it doesn't give her that time to have that sort of oh no moment that really guys don't realize really can wreck a good thing if you do too much complimenting too soon.
Absolutely.
So the next rule is actually, some guys are going to hate to hear this one, but no social media compliments. You do not leave the social media compliments.
Controversial take.
You don't want to be one of the guys if when the girl that you're hanging out with or talking to posts a cute picture of herself and she's got 13, sometimes some women have 50 comments. You look so beautiful in that pic. Oh my God, gorgeous. Don't be one of those guys, because when you're one of those guys, you just get grouped in with the other 50 guys leaving comments, and a lot of times she's doing it really to get ego validation, and it doesn't really serve you a purpose to supply it to her.
Exactly, and there's so many things embedded in what you just said that I think is important to pull out. One is, like you said, you're not separating yourself from the other guys, right? You're just like every other guy in her comment section, and really ask yourself, do you think any of those guys are actually going to sleep with her, going to date her, she's going to even be interested in? And the answer is pretty obvious, no. But the other thing too is another reason I think that it's important to, not to necessarily waste a compliment, because again, you should use your compliment sparingly. It's just like anything, like any kind of currency, right? They lose their value if they're too 100%. Abundant. But ask yourself, when you compliment a woman on social media, where's that going to go? She's on social media. You guys are not together. Like, you're not going to move the needle in terms of her feelings toward you at all when she's sitting there on her phone and you're miles away. So the issue with that is that when you do use compliments, they should very specifically be used in situations where you can actually move that needle. And ideally that would be in person. You could even do this if you're talking to her on the phone or on a FaceTime or that kind of thing. But when you're completely removed from her, you shouldn't be devaluing the currency of your compliments by wasting them on social media.
But you actually said something interesting, because on one hand, if you guys are talking and hanging out and she posts this cute picture of herself, you're right. Saying you look really cute in that picture, it's not going to really get you many points. It's not going to. But by not complimenting her, then you might create a little bit of emotion, because now she might be like, she's looking at the 15 guys that complimenting her and you didn't. And now she's, oh, did he not see the picture?
Yeah.
Now she's thinking about you. Now she's wondering why you didn't compliment her, which actually helps you way more than if you left the stock, you look great in that picture comment.
It's a great point. It's like standing out by negation.
Standing out by negation, yep.
Interesting.
So, rule number 5, and this one isn't something you need to do every single time, but you want to mix these in, and that is complimenting not only the woman she wants to become, but also complimenting the woman that you want her to become, meaning like rewarding her for behaviors that align with what you're actually like about her, right?
This is a crucial one. And this, I think, is not only a very important skill when you first meet a woman, but I feel like to really understand this sort of communication style, this will run throughout your entire relationship with her, whether that's a couple dates, whether that's your girlfriend, even if she becomes your wife. I think this is such an important communication style because to me, like the greatest compliment a person can give you is that they see you not as the person you are today, but they see your potential as what you can become, and they're actually talking to you as if you are that person. And that is an incredibly powerful thing. It works both ways. It works on men, it works on women. Again, I've had girls do this to me before, and I've seen how powerful it is. And this is something that in every relationship that I've been in, it's been a healthy relationship, this is something that I try to do to, for the girl that I'm dating, because of the fact that I know that not only is it good for her, but it's also going to be good, like you said before, it's going to be good for me too, because I'm basically reinforcing the positive behaviors. The person, and again, when girls act up or they do stuff that's kind of fucked up, they don't feel great about it. Like, they don't want to act that way. They like it when they're living up to your standards of her. And when you put those standards out and you actually make that a compliment, I think that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, especially when you tie it into what we call her golden mirror. And that's, for those people listening that don't know what that is, the golden mirror is sort of her idealized version of herself. So we all have that, right? We all have that unique thing that we want to be seen as by people around us. And most people are too wrapped up in their own heads to recognize somebody else's idealized version. They're worried about how they look. So when you actually pay attention, and an example could be a woman who's like very family based, and her ideal self is being like an amazing mom, right? And maybe she doesn't have kids yet, but you just can recognize the way she talks, the way how family means to her. And maybe she's doing something one day, and you're like, wow, I could just tell you're gonna make an amazing mom. You're like, your kid is gonna be the luckiest kid in the world, and you're spotting something that she never told you. That to her is gonna be way more meaningful because you're tapping into like what she's putting out there, right? And it could be her artistic ability, her creativity, whatever it is, right?
That's such a great point. And that's something that, and really the skill of this is, it's not only understanding the technique and the strategy, but it really comes down to like deductive listening, or what I like to call, because where you're really listening, you're not just hearing what she's saying, you're not even just listening to her, you're actually listening and trying to even kind of go look for the spaces in between the words of like, what is she trying to convey? Again, it's like an example I use a lot, but I remember I had met this girl who outwardly didn't look like the stereotypical like girl who thought herself as like, oh, I'm an intellectual, I'm worldly, I'm cultured. But as I was talking to her for about 5 minutes, and I remember just she was using certain like the way that she was choosing her words. She was purposely using like a bigger vocabulary. She was like really, when I was asking her questions, she was like really kind of considering her answers, and it kind of dawned on me. I was like, this is a woman who very much was presenting herself as someone who's cultured and someone who is intelligent. But again, from her outward appearance, I didn't think most guys would miss that, right? And the example that I've used this example in a couple different videos or that kind of thing, so I apologize for the guys that are watching that already heard me say this, but rather than even saying, hey, I can tell you're really smart, or hey, I really like your opinion on that, which again, that would have been perfectly fine, but instead I said to her, I said, oh, I just finished this book I was reading. You seem like someone who reads a lot. Give me a good book recommendation. Here, I'm gonna pull up my phone. And I took my phone and I pulled up Amazon and she gave me a book recommendation. When I looked up, the look on her face, I could see my stock had gone way up in her eyes, because it wasn't even just that I was seeing her the way that she wanted to be seen. I was actually treating her like that. It's different between telling a girl something and showing her. And most guys just tell a girl a compliment, but if you could show her a compliment, and again, all it takes is going a layer deeper, where you don't just say, hey, you seem really smart and cultured, that's sexy, and you actually just treat her like that. You show her that, oh, I see you like this, and that's an incredibly gratifying feeling. And again, I won't go through all the examples of when women have done it to me, but in my own mind, my own memory, I can remember those moments because they were very powerful. And I'm sure if you're listening, you could probably remember a time where a woman gave you a compliment that really tapped into the conversation you were having in your own head of the man that you wanted to become.
Yeah. So kind of recapping, with the idea of compliments in general, and you use the term currency, right? If you think of compliments as a currency, you want to use them wisely, and you want to realize that every time you dish one out to a woman, it has the potential to hurt you or help you. And by following these rules, it's way more likely that your compliments are going to bring your relationship with her forward rather than making her go, oh. So first rule that we talked about was making it unique, meaning avoid this stereotypical compliments and actually find, even if you want to give her a physical compliment, even at some points it is a good thing. You know, there's the point where you got to take it to that physical level. And even then, finding a little cute little freckle on her shoulder is way more of a good compliment than her eyes, or finding, or even like the way you painted your toenails is like so sexy, or whatever it is. It's like making it better than what everybody else would have said to her, because it's unique to you. Even telling her she looks sexy in a dress, right? Because now, the way you look in that dress is driving me crazy. I'm like, you say it all the time. I'm not gonna be able to look at you tonight. Stay away. I can't, because now it's a unique. You're delivering the compliment in a unique way, but also a unique aspect. The second was her behavior. That second rule is you want your compliment to reflect her behavior rather than who she is. The third rule is push-pull, meaning if you give a compliment, you want to take it away a little bit. It could be something as simple as, I will never get along though, because you breaks that tension. Then you have rule number 4, which is no social media compliments. And this one we're really firm on.
Yeah.
I beat guys up when they're like, because it's so, clients of ours will be like, can I just leave one thing?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, just don't do it. And then finally, rule number 5 is compliment the woman she wants to become. Because not only is it a more unique compliment, which fits into rule number 1, but it also shows her that you get her on a deeper level than the other people in her life, and that creates that connection that she needs.